Good morning. Let's see. For a moment, I want you to picture paradise. For some of you, this may be a warm, sandy beach, or sitting in a little coffee shop with an old friend. Or perhaps you pictured a lush garden filled with everything you could ever need. Take, for example, the Garden of Eden. Everything created to fill this space would provide all the necessities for you. It would even provide temptation and the beginning of a long story about the history of humans. The Bible is an all-time best-selling book. It opens with an explanation of how everything came to be. It starts, in the beginning, well, what comes next? One popular translation of the opening verse is, "In the beginning, God created." Growing up, I didn't question this. It was seemingly obvious that God had created in the past, because there was no separation of waters or placement of stars that I could see. Upon coming to Elon and growing into the religious studies department, I came upon more translations for this verse. One being, "In the beginning, God began to create." If the translation in Genesis is God began to create and did not simultaneously cease to create, then God must still be creating. I often think about how the universe is constantly expanding. Every time we strain our telescopes to get to the next star, we realize there are just hundreds of more light years to explore. I like to picture God finally resting, only aiding in simple acts of creation like trees sprouting, when we reach that far-off star. Suddenly, God must go into a frenzy, setting up another stepping stone for us to reach for in space. While I enjoy this crazy understanding of continual creation, I also recognize the smaller acts of creation taking place all around us every day. Babies are born, flowers bloom, lovers meet, leaves change colors, even when we perfect that recipe or put the final brushstrokes on a painting. But let's take a few steps back. In Genesis, there are two accounts of creation. The first has the popular 7-day structure, and everything is constantly proclaimed good. Day 1, there's light. Day 2, waters are separated to the sky. Day 3, land emerges. Day 4, the sun, moon, and stars are placed. Day 5, the living creatures in water and sky are born. On day 6, land animals, including humans, join in. And finally, on day 7, God rests. The second account of creation starts with the forming of the first human, Adam. Instead of waiting for the 6th day, it seems God started it all with Adam. Then everything else created in Eden was in order to better care for Adam, and give him responsibility. It is written that God created Adam in the divine image, and accordingly gifted him authority over the rest of Eden. God had authority over initial creation, and yet Adam had the ability to create, such as by growing food. God gifted Adam plants and rain to nourish them. Adam was immediately given the direction of taking care of everything in Eden. Yes, even in paradise, there is work to be done if one wants to survive. Idle hands are not an option in Eden. When it came time to find a helper for Adam, no suitable partner had yet come to be. So, God created a woman, Eve, from Adam. Adam's body was used to create another human being. Later, the two of them are told to multiply, which is an obvious act of creation that has been gifted to humans. Unfortunately, a forbidden fruit was consumed that would make this procreation business a bit more difficult, and also as a result, Adam and Eve were sent out of Eden. Outside of paradise, perhaps it was even more difficult to find food, but still God provides. Adam and Eve survived and raised their children working in the field. They understood the natural dependency between nurturing plants and yielding food for them to eat. As Adam and Eve exemplify, if we are to take care of ourselves, we must first care for nature. If not only for survival, then out of respect for all God has given us. So, God creates humanity and gives everything else as a blessing and simultaneous responsibility. Before God created Eve, when God saw that man needed a helper, God first created animals. Adam was given dominion over the animals and told to care for them. I dare say we have misused this divinely gifted dominion. Some scholars agree that originally humans were meant to be vegetarians. Only after Noah and the flood does God tell people it's okay to eat meat. Adam and Eve were given the responsibility to care for animals and ensure their well-being. Now, I'm not arguing for vegetarianism in today's world. Rather, I think we need to take more seriously the commandment to care for animals. There are certain animals we respect and give them an aura of dignity. For most part, these animals include dogs, cats, horses, whales, dolphins, songbirds, bald eagles, and more. There are other animals we intentionally do not interact with, such as mice, rats, snakes, and even rabbits. But what about cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, salmon, trout? We usually think of them only as food. Originally, these animals were created as companions for humans, as distinct and important parts of creation worthy of dignity and respect. Today, we do not extend basic health and happiness to some animals. Our own desires take precedence over them. We now have supremacy over animals. What if instead we defined having dominion of animals as having a mutual dependency? They rely on us to provide food and shelter, and we rely on them for clothing, food, partnerships, and so much more. There is a whole world of debates within this realm that I will not get into, but it is still important to note the difference between understanding dominion as having supremacy versus mutual dependency. Even after all of the animals were given to Adam, he was still alone, although I can imagine the dog was a favorite friend of his. So, finally, God creates woman as the perfect helper for man. Adam was created with the need for another person. It was seemingly impossible for him to complete all that God had commanded of him without help. Adam and Eve were living communally in paradise, where everything was provided in abundance. Outside of Eden, it is difficult to say how many people are needed in order to survive, but I know I rely on multiple people. We ideally live in communities with people that support the dignity of each member. This means different things for different communities. At Elon, I see dignity given in the way we encourage diversity. We are learning to be global citizens, part of a worldwide community. The world has enough grief already, and by encouraging diversity, we enrich the world. We open the door to a new state of being in which every person has intrinsic value. As a unit, we can do far greater things than as individuals. In the beginning, when God began to create, there was only one human. God had faith in this individual and gave him so many responsibilities. But God also knew that Adam could not manage it alone. Plants were provided for food, and Adam responded by taking good care of them. Animals were provided as helpers, and again, Adam took good care of them. Yet Adam needed more. Adam needed Eve as a partner and friend in whom he could trust and share in responsibilities. I don't know about you, but I need more than the food I eat and the animals I interact with. I need a community behind me that I can take good care of and know that I too am taken care of. I believe everyone is given the divine opportunity to be part of a community. All we have to do is reach out and pull them in. Let everyone know that they do not have to be alone in their responsibilities. God created us to be in partnerships and to care intensely about other individuals. God gave everyone life and then gave us the responsibility to continue creation in our care for all humans and every living thing. In the beginning, God began to create. How is God still creating in you? Perhaps in the way you nurture plants or rescue animals, or the way you smile at a friend or give a blanket to a homeless person. Look around. There is so much left to create. Thank you.